and going to call the Spokane County Board of Commissioners to order for a special meeting, and let the record reflect that we have both Commissioner Cooney and Kearns joining us telephonically. And so we have two items for the agenda today. One is in the matter of a reconsideration because of a notice glitch with regard to the appointment of the emergency management deputy director. And this is to shift the responsibility and accountability for this position from the Board of County Commissioners back to the sheriff. So look to my fellow board members for any discussion, comment, or direction.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve a resolution in the matter of modifying Spokane County Code Charter or Chapter 1.08.
Is this a hearing?
Yes.
Commissioner Kearns.
Oh, this one's a public. No problem.
I apologize. Evidently, this is a hearing. I got all excited about being done. I just forgot about
Well, I'll put a
anybody else offering any opinion. So, do either one of you have any questions about the measure before us? Seeing none, I will open it up to the public for anybody in the public that would like to provide any testimony on the appointment of the emergency management deputy director to the sheriff. Second call for anybody wanting to provide testimony. Third and final call, seeing nobody express a desire to comment, I will close the hearing at 9:33. And now look to my fellow commissioners for direction. Commissioner Kearns, you are on a roll.
Okay, we're all reset at the start line, so no more false starts.
Nope, that was just a rehearsal.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move to approve a resolution in the matter of modifying Spokane County Code Chapter 1.08 with regard to the appointment of the emergency management deputy director.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Let the record reflect the motion passes unanimously for the second time. So if we do it once, we'll do it twice. So we do not have any other items coming before the board, but we do have our CEO with the miscellaneous matter. Please feel free to take the floor, Mr. Kendall, and share with us your wisdom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I got a text or an email from Kathleen, and Melina, who contracts with our CARES division, is donating $5,000 to the CARES division for technology purposes related to COVID. Mr. Arkills, she asked him if the donation was allowable, which he says it is. And her question to me was, do you think I need to come and brief the board? I took the liberty of saying, no, you don't. I will just tell them that we're going to have $5,000 donated. Thank you very much. It's very nice of Melina. And I'm sure the board will not have to have you come in and do a presentation. That's all I have.
So would it be appropriate for you to draft and sign a letter on behalf of the board, thanking them for their generosity?
I think it's an excellent idea. And we will have it on your next agenda 2 weeks from now.
So do you want us to give you a motion now, or you want to wait until you bring it forward?
Shouldn't have a motion now, technically. Yes.
Okay, we didn't notice it. So we'll bring forward a resolution at a later date. And so I know it's been our practice, but I was reminded by Mr. Macio to ask if it's all right if we use your stamp on the resolution that we passed this morning.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
And in fact, can we just state again for Jim's purpose that, until we can all be in the same room, that there's authorization for our stamps to be used.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to continue asking.
Ongoing and recurring.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that either one of you would like to share with the board?
I just wanted to kind of float the idea out there just for each of you to kick around the idea with the newest restrictions that have been put in place by the governor, we could see some of our restaurants hurting a little more than they were. Our restaurants, wineries, breweries, event centers. Based on what we hear from GSI, because I think the application for the grants goes live today. If it's not live already, at some point today it goes live. We don't know if 10 million is going to be enough now, since there are additional restrictions that were put in place for some of those industries or businesses that I referenced. So going to keep that in your mind. Maybe something that could pop up on us here pretty quick.
Yeah, to that end, I did get phone calls this weekend from 3 different operators expressing stress, distress, and concern about their ongoing viability with the increasing burden of trying to keep the doors open. So it very well might be something we want to come back and revisit. So thank you, Mr. Kearns.
Yeah,
Commissioners,
yeah.
Only because it's right on this topic, but 7 minutes ago, I got an email from the owner of David's Pizza and Benny's, that restaurant in Cheney, and they requested to have a meeting with the commissioners to talk about the effects of these new restrictions on their operations and operations of businesses. That's all this email says, but I just thought since it was pertinent to the topic.
Would you be interested in entertaining such a meeting when we return from break? If so, I can certainly schedule a 15, 20-minute presentation.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm happy to listen to what they have to say.
Okay. So why don't we reach out and schedule a time when we get back from after the 11th. Okay. Anything else for the good of the cause, Miss Gina?
And sorry, with the sports commission, would also like to have a meeting with the board when you guys need to for
Relative to what?
Funding, for funding request as well.
So because he's a nonprofit, at the last conversation, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, fellow commissioners, but I thought that what we were doing was we were requesting the nonprofits to participate in the loan program at the $10 million. Let's go through that process first, and then we can reconvene after that, see what we might want to do. But otherwise, I think the $10 million is for both for-profit and nonprofit. Okay.
Yeah, because we're going to need to wait and see too what happens the next couple of weeks with the Fed, because there's certainly discussions with their next round. There won't be more CARES dollars, but there may be more allowability for those CARES dollars. They're now talking about allowing for lost revenue to be used, possible use for the CARES dollars. So, those are things we just need to be paying attention to in the next 2 weeks as that gets finalized. It's, because it's not final yet, but that's, there's just so many, things still yet to be determined.
Yeah, and there's also conversation about extending unemployment checks and some conversation about another round of stimulus checks. So there's certainly a lot of stuff in the air. So hopefully by next week, we'll know more.
Yes, and then just so you know, on my health board appointment, I have not closed it. I have not gone through applications yet. I'm hoping over this break that I will get through the applications and sit down with Amelia and kind of decide, of the ones that we have, which ones I'm going to be interviewing to then bring forward.
Okay. Yes.
I have an informational item.
Mr. Amacio.
Board members, Jim Kaufman and I, as a result of your direction last week, contacted Mike Ormsby, and we got a copy of the city's purchase and sale agreement for the West 55 Mission Avenue property. And as a result of the board's direction last week, you indicated that the county would be the owner of that property. We have reviewed the document and made appropriate changes to it, and we will have it available for your review and consideration when you get back on August 10th or 11th, when you have your next meeting. And we will work on a couple of issues. One issue is the purchase price of the building. And the city of Spokane had an arrangement with the Spokane Housing Authority that the purchase price would be determined in the following fashion. The Spokane Housing Authority would appoint a commercial appraiser. The city, i.e. now the county, would appoint a commercial appraiser. Then they would both appraise the property and then they would average the price. The present assessed value of the property, according to the assessor's records, is $1,195,000. When Jim and I looked this weekend at the definition of the kind of appraising person that was selected, there are three types. There's a residential person, commercial, that just sells property. Then there's a commercial appraiser who has more experience. And then, of course, board members, there's an MAI. So the person who was selected in conjunction with this process was the person in between. And that's a person who has some commercial experience in appraising, but not as much as an MAI. So that is one issue which we're going to have to get more direction from the board before we get back with the Spokane Housing Authority's attorney. Jim can address this, but I think in his conversations with Mike Ormsby, the city, as I understand it, correct me, Jim, felt comfortable with that language, albeit the city never signed off on the purchase and sale agreement, although the Spokane Housing Authority did. So I wanted to at least advise you of where Jim and I were on that so we can move forward in a timely fashion so we can take advantage of CARES money in conjunction with the acquisition of that property.
Did the city identify an appraiser that they were going to use then?
Commissioner French, that was up to the city, i.e. now the county, to determine who they were going to appoint that fell within the definitions of this kind of a commercial appraiser. Neither party had yet, Al.
Yeah, no, Mike told me they had.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
So pardon me.
Mary, go ahead.
I said, can we find one who's an appraiser that can just do this?
Yeah, we can identify whoever we want to be our appraiser. It doesn't have to be who the city picked because we're the buyer, not them.
Yeah, we're both
Or
concerned.
can we have Jerry just take care of that for us while we're on break?
Find
Yeah.
an appraiser.
Yeah, and get it appraised so that way we just can move forward.
What I would suggest, board members, I've already talked to the Public Works Department. I want to use Deborah Firkins to assist us in the acquisition because she's very good. And so
Be the quickest.
with your permission, board members, I would get a hold of Deborah and Chad Coles to see if they could give us a list of people that we might be able to use. And the issue here, board members, is it's got to be timely because a lot of these appraisers are busy, Commissioner French. So we want to have one that we want to use, that there's no conflict in, that we can get on board right away. So with your direction, Jerry, Jim and I will contact Deborah Firkins and Chad and see if we can get some names to bring back to the board in your October meeting when we hopefully will sign the purchase and sale agreement.
Is there,
In
go
August.
ahead, Mary, I'm sorry.
I said, hopefully in our August.
Yeah.
But,
So is there any preference in terms of the qualifications for the appraiser that either one of you have? I mean, does it matter to you? Yeah. Okay.
no, I just had an off the cuff conversation with, a property manager. And I mean, I think, based on the appraisal price through the assessor's office, and knowing it was 1.3, I mean, I'm fairly comfortable with that number. We need to get an appraiser to just make sure that that number's, in the range.
Ration.
Right.
So, I mean, I just think the sooner we get this done, the better.
Did either one of you attend the town hall meeting they had, or the neighborhood meeting that they had last week?
I did.
How did it go?
I thought it went fairly well. It was video, or it was by Zoom. I was watching the running tally of the folks that were chatting back and forth during the meeting. I thought the city did a nice job of explaining over and over again that that homeless part of it was temporary, and the bridge housing is really the final goal. I thought the major from Salvation Army did a very, very good job. It seemed there were 4 that were kind of main players from the neighborhood that were pretty livid against it, but which is expected. But other than that, I thought that it went pretty well. By the way, they're gonna set those meetings up every week. So the next meeting is, I think, next Tuesday, or this Tuesday, or Friday. I'll look at it, send it to you. But they're gonna set these telephone meetings up or video meetings up every week for a while with the neighborhoods.
Yeah, and I know I was invited, but I couldn't make it. I mean, it was very last minute, and I had another meeting already scheduled, so.
Yeah, it's very city centric. You know, there was at one point in time, in fact, I was actually signing some papers and I hear a voice over the phone saying, "Jerry Gimmel from the county, would you like to say anything?" But anyway, it was just, pretty benign about homeless issues are not just the cities, it's regional and this and that. But you can tell the neighborhoods are focused very much on the city. And Nadine did a good job, and I thought that Tia did a very good job. But the people that aren't happy aren't going to be happy. I did find one thing is very interesting. One of the neighborhood folks that was texting said something to the effect, I have a homeless person like in my yard. Wouldn't it be better to have them in a housing someplace?
I think it's rude to talk about your husband that way. No. Okay. So more for when we get back then.
Sure.
We don't do you have any desire, any need to have a special meeting for next week? Okay. So unless something really critical happens, we will not convene for next week. Yay, team. So anything else for the good of the board? Good of the team, good of the county? Okay, so it is now 9:47 and we're adjourned. Stay safe.
Very good.
Well,
Yes,
wasn't-
sir.